Hey there. If you are enjoying what you're hearing from the Central Indiana Sports Report, please do us a huge favor and help share the podcast with the IU fans in your life and help spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report, IU fans, in particular IU football fans right now. I'm joined by our IU guy, Grant Shouse, and longtime IU football fan, Mike Hutsell. He and I were just recounting our days at the News and Tribune in Southern Indiana, and what an incredible time that was. But we're having a good time, and guys, right now is a very good time in the history of IU football. What are the expectations going in, Grant?
You know, I think the expectation is that you got to capitalize off of what you did last year. I mean, what they did last year was nothing short of amazing. I think maybe the only people that really believed last year was possible was the people within the program.
I'm not even sure they actually believed that was possible.
Well, I mean, I think they did believe it because of the mentality that was instilled into them that they could do it. The thing is about last year, and this is the famous Mike Leach thing, and there's a famous video of Mike Leach telling his team, you know, we got a lot of entitled MFers in here that think they have something to do because they were on last year's team. And he goes, well, that's bullshit. He goes, because who made those plays? Graham Harrell made those plays. Michael Crabtree made those plays. It goes back to that. And if you look up that video and you heard him talk, that's basically what it is. Last year is just last year. We're done talking about last year after tomorrow night. When the calendar flips to August 30th, we're done talking about 2024. And we're ready to start talking about 2025. That's the mentality you got to take as the approach is the fan base. Now, the guys within the program, I think, are probably already doing that. Last year was just last year.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to move on from it. It was great. But now the thing is, can we do it again? And I think Indiana's capable of doing it again. I think this team, and this may be a stretch, and I really hope I'm right. You guys may not agree with me, but I think that this year's team is going to be more talented in more places than last year's team. The quarterback was really good with Curtis Rourke, but Fernando Mendoza, I mean, by at least one inside NFL, the NFL on CBS's mock draft for 2026 way early has Fernando Mendoza going number one in the draft. And that's unbelievable. Now, that's all preseason stuff, and that's going to change. Is he going to be the number one pick? I don't know. But that's crazy that someone's talking about the quarterback at Indiana being the number one pick. You know, they're better on that offensive line. That offensive line is huge. They were a little undersized last year, but they figured it out. They pushed through. In my opinion, they have the best offensive line coach outside of Justin Fry in the Big Ten with Bob Bostad. Shout out to Elwood's Justin Fry.
That's right.
And, you know, Indiana is in a good position. They're in a position to be successful going into the season. And I really hope they can duplicate last year. But, you know, it's that thing. We got to stop talking about last year. 2024 is over. It's now 2025.
It's so funny to come into a season for Indiana football. And, you know, I have the misfortune of living on the Ohio River. I have the misfortune of working with a lot of Kentucky and even more University of Louisville fans. I have to hear so much, oh, you guys are a fluke. You guys are never going to do it again. You're going to fall off this year. You're going to go 9-3. I'm like, you do realize that's probably going to be one of the 5 best seasons in Indiana football history if they go 9-3 this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That'll land you in a New Year's Day bowl game.
this team can be better than last year's team and go 9-3. This team can be better than last year's team and go 8-4. I mean, the way the schedule breaks, there's to Oregon. As Grant, so eloquently brought up in our last podcast, the last Big Ten team that won at Oregon was Indiana in 2004. And then you go to Penn State, and that could potentially be a night game, and we all know how a Penn State night game can go. So, yeah.
It is pretty crazy.
To replicate last year, I mean, it would be just completely almost – I don't even know how you can expect to even have those expectations. I mean, and again, I feel like this is a more talented – as Grant said, it's a more talented team. They have a better running back room with the transfer of Roman Hemby from Maryland, and then you got Lee Beebe coming in from UAB. You've got a better O-line. You added the Notre Dame transfer at center. You had Khalil Benson back. He was announced today as the starter at right tackle.
Yep.
You have an All-American candidate at wide receiver, and then an All-Big Ten candidate at the other wide receiver, and Omar Cooper. The tight end room should be more productive than they had last year. Last year they had a great blocker at tight end, and now you add Holden Stays from Tennessee and Notre Dame, so you're adding another Power 4 receiver to the offense. I mean, the talent is going to be upgraded, and then you have 3 All-American candidates going into the year on defense. You have a lineman, a linebacker, and a corner who are all on the All-American watch list going into the year. So
that doesn't happen at IU often.
And we didn't even factor in. Okay, you talked about Mendoza. Curtis Rourke played the entire year last year with a torn ACL.
Yeah,
I mean, they could have a healthy quarterback that's more mobile, and if there are flaws in that O line, like there were in the Ohio State or Notre Dame game, you have a little more mobility back there. But again, to expect 11-1 and the only losses you have for an entire year are to 2 teams that played in the national title game, I mean, that's storybook stuff. So you go in with hoping for another magical year. You go in expecting to maybe be a 9-win team at worst. And then you just hope you win the right games. You want to continue to show Illinois you're not our rival, even though you try to pretend to be.
That's right.
You want to destroy any momentum that Barry Odom's trying to build at Purdue. And then you want to pick off one of those games like Illinois, Iowa, along the way. So that's the expectations going in this year for me.
I want to say this real quick about you just mentioned what momentum Barry Odom's trying to make at Purdue. I'm telling you, in a weird way, just by what Indiana can do down the road, believe it or not, I think can affect what happens in West Lafayette. I don't know how to explain it, but I think the rivals seeing the other the other side of it have success and be this great team, I think can also almost, you don't want to say deflate, but I think it can kind of rattle them a hair.
It's weird, Grant, that IU is looking for a basketball coach like Matt Painter and Purdue is looking for a football coach like Kurt Cignetti. They went out and tried to get a guy kind of like him.
Exactly, and both of them have tried to do that, So, we could talk for hours about that kind of stuff, but I think last year, Indiana doing what they did, I'm not so sure. People like to say, "Oh, it was the 66-0," that got Ryan Walters fired at Purdue. I don't really. I mean, that may have played a little bit of a factor. Yeah, it's embarrassing losing on the road to your rival like that in your last game, but I don't think it was necessarily that as much as it was Indiana having the success that they did in year one and turning around their football program. And Purdue, 3 years removed from going to the Big Ten championship, has not been back there quite yet since Brom left. And I thought Brom was a good coach, but I think.
Hey, we will not speak well of the University of Louisville head coach on this podcast.
I know.
The guy saw the Big Ten West go away, and he got awful homesick awful quick. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, it's his hometown. You kind of give a pass to a guy going to his hometown.
But what I'm trying to say is I think Purdue and maybe other teams, but mostly Purdue saw what Signetti and them did last year. And it's like, well, we got to try and find a guy who can do this.
Yeah, no
too.
doubt about it.
Because Indiana and their revenue with football and the money they've made and the upgrades they've made to their facilities and all that kind of stuff, the money in the athletic department, Purdue's looking at that, and it's like, we need to try and do some of those things too. But then again, when Indiana has, I can't remember if it's them or Ohio State, but it's either one of the two, Indiana or Ohio State, has the most money coming into its athletic program or athletic department in the Big Ten, maybe in the country. So there's just a lot of factors that go into it, but I really think that the success Indiana had last year really kind of hindered what Purdue's trying to do, because they're trying to do the same thing, and I don't blame them. It's a good blueprint.
I think it's time to talk about Old Dominion. It's kind of telling that we're 10 minutes into a preview and we haven't talked about the opponent. The Monarchs went 5-7 last year. They're not the worst team on IU's schedule, and that's about all I can say about that. I think it's a team that could give IU a little trouble early on. A really nice front seven, and it looks like a pretty good offensive line expected to come back. A lot of transfers in the defensive backfield and at skill positions. Any concerns going into this, Mike?
I mean, been trying to figure out how I want to word this, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying they're playing a great opponent in their opener, but they're also not playing a absolute pushover in their opener. Yeah.
It's not Indiana State.
Yeah, we've talked about this team, and Signetti brought it up again this week. This team almost won at South Carolina last year. And I think this is the team that Virginia Tech has had a home-and-home series with, but they canceled all the road games because they couldn't beat them when they go to Old Dominion.
Right.
So it's not a bad – I mean, in the opening spread, you can see a 30-point spread sometimes if you're a team ranked in the top 25. They're only a 23.5-point favorite. That's a good number. That's a healthy, sizable spread, but that shows you a little bit that Old Dominion will probably be competitive in this game going into maybe the fourth quarter or something. If you're a betting man, and I don't know about Grant, I don't think Greg is, but I would probably take the first half spread in Old Dominion's favor. I don't expect Indiana to jump out and have a 40-point first half in this game or anything. I don't think it's a dangerous game, but I hope people don't think that if Indiana doesn't win by 30, 40 points, that it's a bad sign, because this is not a good team, but not a pushover whatsoever.
I agree with what you're saying, Mike, and you're 100% correct. This is a team you can't overlook. I mean, I know it's Old Dominion. I know they're not a Power 4 opponent, but out of the 3 non-conference games that Indiana's going to play this year, this is easily the best out of themselves, Kennesaw State and Indiana State.
No doubt.
And it's going to be – I mean, I really think it'll be a good game for at least a quarter and a half, maybe the first half. Because Indiana's not going to come out. I mean, they might. I mean, they've done things. They did things last year that surprised me. I just don't think they're going to be able to come out and throw a haymaker right away. Because the thing is about all this is not only is this Indiana, it's this simple. Not only is it Indiana's first game of the year, but it's Old Dominion's first game of the year too. And you're telling me they haven't been jacked up and ready to go since fall camp started, ready for Saturday? I mean, come on. I mean, they're ready to go. And they have an All-American candidate in their middle line, in their linebacker spot, named James Henderson. And he was an all-conference middle linebacker for them last year, one of their probably the anchor of their defense. He was good. And he is a guy that, could give that offense some problems, and we'll see. But we're just going to have to see how they stack up. Indiana's favorite. Indiana's got a 95% chance of winning. like I said, I think it'd be a game. I think it could be a game for a while, but I expect Indiana to pull away, and I hope they do. I'm nervous going in, but I was nervous for every game last year. I mean, it's one of those things that it's sort of those guys. Those guys are, those guys. They have first game jitters too. Those new guys. They're kind of jittered up. They may not be ready to go right away. And so you got to flush those things. It's going to take a quarter and a half to get that all out of the way. But then once you get through that, I think at halftime or whatever in between the first and second quarter, you flush it and you get those things fixed. And what I really loved about Indiana's staff last year was the ability to adjust on the fly to things. Stuff went wrong, they fixed it. In almost every game. Now, the Ohio State game was not good. They couldn't make adjustments. I thought the coaching decisions there in the Notre Dame game in the playoff were questionable at times. But when it came time to make an adjustment, that staff made the adjustment that was necessary. Except in the two biggest games that mattered, but I think the lights may have been a little too bright.
Hey, Mike, have you made the adjustment as an IU football fan yet? How hard has it been to have the mentality going into a season of 9 wins? Is it hard to shake that after 40 years?
I mean, absolutely, man. I mean, every season, we talked about this before, it was like, okay, let's find 6.
Exactly.
If we go 2-1 in the non-conference, we got to win that Purdue game. That'll get us to 3. Maybe this year Michigan State's at home. There's 4. Got to sweep that Rutgers, Maryland.
That's right.
Oh, crap. We lost the Michigan State game. Now we got to try and get that Iowa game at home.
And there's a 0% chance without some major problems that they don't get to 7 wins this year.
If they did anything below 7-5, I'm not saying it's a disaster, because anytime Indiana makes a bowl game, it's something that we're not used to in our lifetimes. But you go I think even if you go 7-5, you're going to hear the pundits and the Brett McMurphys and the Heather Diniches and say, "Yeah, see, we told you these guys were just a clown show. Got to play a bunch of nobodies last year."
I think it's pretty obvious though that Cignetti's just different. I think the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue you have with him is others coming and poaching him.
Well, the only thing I have to say about that is he's already almost 70 years old.
Good point.
He might not be looking to just jump again.
Yeah,
Oklahoma will probably have an opening this year. That's probably going to be a hard one to turn down.
That is a perfect segue, Mike. After the IU game, everybody go get some dinner after the win, and make sure you tune in to ESPN Plus for Winkers Wright and the Illinois State Redbirds, right?
No offense, Greg. I kind of need Oklahoma to do just enough to keep Brett Venables around. I don't feel like the Illinois State Redbirds beating them in the opener is going to help that cause.
It would not.
So I hope your nephew runs for 300 yards and Oklahoma puts up 70 and wins. So
I don't ever want Billy Sims to be sad, but in this case, I want Billy Sims to be sad. All right, Grant, can you believe it's finally here?
I mean, it feels like it's taken forever, right?
Yeah.
And to go back to what Mike was saying a minute ago about Cignetti jumping ship, I really don't see that happening, even if Oklahoma comes open. I don't see it happening. Indiana extended him and has him at so many incentives that they do certain things, win a bowl game, make a bowl game, literally win games.
My point was that as long as he's there, they're going to win, I think.
Yeah, and he said he's not leaving. He said, we are the emerging superpower in college football. Why would I leave? And for him, I think it's an ego thing, to be quite honest with you. I mean, he's got an ego. We all got one, but he's got one. And I think the ego is that, I came in here and I turned around a program who was quite literally is the most losingest program in all of college football, and within 1 year got them into the 12-team college football playoff.
Nuts.
For the first time ever. why would I leave to go to Oklahoma where that's the expectation?
Yeah, anybody who downplays what he did last year is an idiot. I'm sorry. I've heard some people say, anybody who downplays what he did last year is just an idiot. It was an incredible.
It's because of how much he talks, Greg. People want him to fail because he puts himself out
there. But
there.
if you watched a single IU game, you could see that he had his team in a better position to win games than every other team except for the two they lost to. He just had them in a better place to win.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I mean, the guy's 63 years old and says he's still got a lot left in the tank. I don't see him going anywhere. I think he'll finish his career at Indiana, and he's even said that before I retire, we got to make renovations to that stadium, and that press box has got to come down.
I did see that. Now, one challenge that Tom Allen was ultimately led to his downfall, I think, at Indiana was when he was good, his staff got rated, and Indiana has proven now that they will pony up for assistant coaches. They'll do what it takes. But if Pat Narduzzi in Pittsburgh suck this year and he gets let go, is Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, who's a Pitt alum, who's kind of got an offensive savant vibe and reputation going, is he going to be on Pitt's radar to replace Narduzzi?
That's
or
a good question.
Brent Haynes, who is, how Ohio State tried to get him on the defensive coaching staff. Well, he could get a pretty high D1 offer if Indiana replicates what they did last year. If he's able to turn a bunch of group of five guys into All-Americans 2 years in a row, he's going to be a pretty attractive head coaching candidate. And then you've got to go through the replacing a really good staff. Tom Allen could never do that. He lost DeBoer. He lost Kane
And a part of that was, Mike, is because Indiana didn't want to cough up the money to keep those guys. I truly do think that it would all be different if he could have kept those dudes. If he could have kept Kane Womack, if he could have kept Kalen DeBoer, that's a whole – it would have changed the trajectory of the program. There's no question about it. It was just – it's hard to keep those guys when you weren't invested in football at the time.
Well, when you win, you're going to lose them. That's what happens.
Knew what they were doing last year, they would have ponied up and kept those guys. They would have kept those assistant coaches. They would have – it was different then because it was pre-NIL and that kind of stuff. But I think if Indiana knew what they know now, they would have done it then.
And one of the most Indiana football things that could ever possibly happen, DeBoer was probably going to be back for at least a second year in Bloomington, except Fresno's coach got sick, and they offered him a head coaching job. And as soon as Caleb DeBoer left, all of a sudden Fresno's coach felt good enough to come back. I was like, that one small window necessary to get DeBoer out the door is what opened up and cost Indiana the best offensive coordinator they ever had prior to this staff that they have now.
Let's start with Grant. Final score.
I'm going to go Indiana 48, Old Dominion 21.
Whoa, high scoring game. Mike?
I think Old Dominion covers. I'm going to go 42-20.
Wow. I think they cover too. I'm going to say it's 30-17. I think they'll pull away. I think they'll win comfortably, and I think the score will be closer than it. Anytime I see a number like that, I'm like, Vegas wants people to bet on IU, and I think they want. I think it's going to be closer than people expect, but fairly comfortable. 30-17 Hoosiers, and don't panic, as Mike Hutsell said, if it's only 30-17.
Since it's an IU podcast and we're taking an opportunity game to make fun of our rivals, Purdue 18.5-point favorite against Ball State. What are we thinking there, guys?
Purdue by 30. 44-14.
Okay.
44-14.
Ball State on a last-second field goal.
You were willing to put money on that?
No, I don't bet.
Okay.
Not a gambling man, Greg.
I'm just gauging your confidence in that bet because I don't think it's very confident.
It's not. I'm just being an asshole.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go Purdue 8-4.
Nice. So
two safeties.
Two safeties. Yep.
6 safeties.
Wow, it'd be the ugliest game ever played.
Purdue's going to score more than 40 points.
The chances are never zero when Purdue and Ball State get together. It's going to be the worst football game ever played.
Good point. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks so much to Grant and Mike. So much fun when they join me. And thank you for listening. Please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with an IU fan in your life and help spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.